Hello friends, it's Jayma Malme here with another 2-page layout for you. I am going to start with some white base pages again because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be layering papers up on it. So this is basically going to be what I'm building on. And then I have a whole bunch of outdoor photos here. The creative design team and I are all going to be scrapbooking the same photos. Well, really this one photo. Isn't this an amazing group shot? These photos are from when we went to Vancouver, Canada together. I always want to say Vancouver, Washington, because one of my good friends lives there. Anyways, we were in Vancouver, Canada, our first time all getting together, and we just had the best time. And I've kind of played around with these already. I'm pretty sure that this is the configuration that I'm wanting. And then a lot of times I will work from a sketch, but I didn't this time, although I did take one element from a sketch. There's one sketch in our sketchbooks that is based off of one of my layouts where there's some 2x2 photos and a little strip here with a dovetail. And instead of doing that, I have all of these little photos because we did this really cool photo shoot on the train tracks here, and we all got our photos taken. And so I was thinking I could have that strip go all the way across and then dovetail here. I especially love this photo here where Julie's doing Chelsea's hair while Erin is getting ready to take her shot. So I wanted to include that little behind the scenes because it was really funny starting out here, and then here's the outcome of that, and then all of our photos. And then this one of Janice is so funny. This is her actually, this is this photo right here of her peeking out from underneath this little sign. So this is just zoomed in and you can see her better. And I later found out she has one on the train tracks I didn't know about, so I probably I might reprint it and replace this, although this one I just think is so cute and so funny. I might leave that one there. But this is a funny story. I'll tell you that in a little bit. We didn't have the whole group shot. There was no one to take our photo, so I'm going to tell you what happened with this group shot. But I did make sure to separate these because we have a lot of bold color in this sign right here. So I wanted to separate those so they're diagonal across the page because that is kind of a strong design element. So it helps to draw your eyes across the page. And then of course, we'll make sure that that happens with the embellishments in paper too. So when I was trying to decide what paper to use, the first thing that came to mind was this Lake Life collection because it does have a lot of great outdoor colors. It is more lake themed. I was thinking maybe this could work. I was thinking of doing maybe some strips down the side. But this was too strong. It was too much green, and I really wanted to let all of the green in my photos kind of pop because that's one element that is going to help them pop off the page. But when I saw this plaid one, I thought, well, that will work well. And then I can have a little transition strip, and then we'll do a little bit more paper as well. But that's the one that I pulled out from here. I got the scrapbooking workshop kit, so it comes with the full paper pack, so you can see a lot of these papers here. I love this kind of like water, glistening water look, or kind of waves in the water. And then the back of that one is these oars. And then it comes with all of these little die cut pieces, and then these die cut pieces. And then it also has some extra papers that the paper pack doesn't have. So there's this, and there's 2 of the fish, and then there's this speckled one too. And I was thinking about using this because this sage color would go nicely, but I think it's going to kind of drown out the greens a little too much. I want to do a little more pine. So I definitely want to bring in some pine. Got a photo stuck there. Sorry, Erin. All right, so I'm going to pull that out, and then I think I want to draw in some brown too. So I pulled out a few browns, and actually right off the bat, you see how well this is mocha from Close to My Heart? That matches this sign perfectly. This one's espresso. It's not quite as rich, and that doesn't match as well. But that definitely is a contender, or I definitely will use that. I'm not sure about the acorn. I think it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's just a little blah to me. So I'm going to keep it off to the side just in case I change my mind. But I'm going to work with these for now. So I'm thinking that I might actually have like a little border at the top. and then have a little border here, kind of like that, and then my photos will be on here. And I don't know if I want pine or if I want the mocha. I guess it depends on what color I map my photos in. And then the other thing I was thinking is having a strip up here. All right, so I got out my two go-to outdoor packs. This is from Evergreen, which was actually kind of like a winter collection from Close to My Heart. And this is from Change of Scenery. I already forgot the name of it. So this is a more subtle pattern. It's got kind of like bird marks in it. And this one, I actually already had these strips cut. So I was thinking, well, that is pretty handy, and that could be my strips that are gonna go up here. And then I need like a little transition. So have it kind of like that. And then maybe I'll bring this in as a little transition here. So something like that. And then we need a band for here. All right, so I've got a couple of options. I could bring in the acorn, and again, it's just blah. I don't love that, but I have this pattern from the Country Woods collection, and I love, love, love this paper. And I think that that works well because it brings in some of this almost acorn color, but it's a little bit more neutral background, and I'm definitely gonna need to matte these. So I might add a pine matte. I think I'm gonna like that. And then do I want to matte these? Sometimes I will add a matte. I think maybe for this particular photo I will add a matte because I want this one to stand out. Let me just try this color just to make sure. Nope, I don't like it. I like the green. But I might actually ink around the edges of this. That way it'll help it pop off the white background, but it won't actually be a full matte. And then I'm thinking that this is gonna be here and it's gonna be overlapping a little bit. I grabbed some mocha glitter paper, and so that gives us that same color, but it makes a little bit of a differentiation between these two. And of course adds a little glitz and glam, which I love. So I'm kind of leaning toward doing this. What I did at the top, I would do at the bottom too. And then this band would kind of, you know, go across that. So let me go ahead and just cut these down and make sure we like everything, and then I will come back. All right, so here we are. A couple of things I altered from what I was thinking is these strips I cut in half. So these are now 3/4 of an inch. And this is actually going to be tucked under here. And that is because this photo is so large. I didn't really like how it looked when it was overlapping, because I did have it coming down. It was 1.5 inches, and I didn't like it overlapping. Now I did actually cut a mocha matte because I thought maybe I would like it overlapping that. But then I didn't like it with this little skinny piece of mocha here. This is just 1/8 of an inch. I wanted just a very teeny tiny amount in between. And so I was thinking of still matting it in the mocha, but I'm not totally sure. So I'm going to live with it without, and then I can decide later. And by the way, I did gut the back of this mat, and then I was able to use it for one of my 3x4s. So that's an extra little tip for you, something that actually Andrea mentioned in one of her recent videos, and it reminded me to do that, especially with these big 5x7s, because there's a lot of paper hiding back there. All right, so I know I'm gonna ink the edges of this, and I did end up adding mattes to all the rest of my photos too. I like how that looks, but I need to dovetail the end of this. So I'm going to get these photos placed pretty much where I want them. This, by the way, is 2 3/4 inches tall. And then I think I want it to come in about here. I want kind of a shallow dovetail, not a super deep one, if that makes sense. And then I'll cut in. It doesn't have to be super exact, but I like that. So now what I'll do is I will take this other one and then I can just mimic it on the other side. and then it will be a little bit more defined because I'll have the inking around the edge to define the edges. Especially since this is a light color, it's more of a white background, and it's going to be on top of this white background, and then this has a lot of white in it too. So that way it'll pop off of there a little bit more. So this, by the way, I cut to 2.5 inches. This one I cut to 3 inches because these photos don't take up as much space widthwise. So then they're overlapping about the same amount on each side, if that makes sense. All right, so I've got my mocha ink, and I think I'm just gonna go, I'll try just direct to paper and see if that gets it dark enough. It goes on pretty dark and then it will lighten up. So that stands out pretty well. Let's see if I can get this dovetail. If I kind of bend it a little bit, it's easier to get into those little nooks and crannies of the dovetail. So there we go. All right, I've got my base pages down. I have not glued this piece down yet or these photos because I might need to get under them for some embellishing. I pulled out these 2 stamp sets that I think are going to work really nicely, and I've already pre-stamped and cut some of these dies, stamps and dies. So this is a cling stamp set, and it has dies that cut out some of the stamps, and then it also has some dies that just are standalone and can, you know, mix in with the stamped images. So I'm going to do that, and then this one, I'm thinking I'm going to use this image right here as kind of a grounding spot and do some stamping right on my background. So first I wanted to play with some of the stamped images. Now I did stamp these in my Misty. What the cling stamps weren't stamping as solidly as I would like with my Close to My Heart ink. I used pine ink, and I don't know if it's because, if you can see, there is a little bit of like, I don't know, it's not a super solid image. So I did want a more solid image. So I stamped it 3 times in my Misty, and that got a pretty good result. I did 2 with pine, and then I did 1 layer on top with garden green, and that made it just a little bit brighter, but it still has the undertones of the pine so that it matches my paper. So I'm thinking I'm gonna have an embellishment spot up here, because this photo is not quite as tall as these photos, so it leaves a little spot for embellishing. And then let's see if I tuck this one kind of right here. I don't know if that's gonna stand out enough, we'll have to see. And then over here, I was gonna put my title, but I was playing around and I actually really liked the way that this looked and filled this space right here, so I might go with that. So I also inked around the edges of this pine border or mat. So I think that's going to solve my problem of, you know, wanting more of that mocha color. I don't think I'm gonna want the actual mat anymore. I think it takes up too much real estate on my page. So that's something that I mentioned I do sometimes. If I don't want to take up extra space on the page with another mat, I'll just add some ink around the edge. It doesn't stand out a ton, but I think it gives it just enough definition. Now for those little standalone dies, I actually cut them out of the same mocha glitter paper as I did here. I thought it would be fun to kind of mix some of that in. So see how these they look kind of fun mixed in like that. So I don't think I want 3. So we've got 3 trees and 2 of these trees. So that gives us an odd number of 5. I think I like that. We'll try 1 here. I might add another one, but we'll see. And then that might be actually too tall for up there. I might move the taller one down here. And actually I might tuck it behind here, that way the tree pops off that background a little bit more. I'm gonna need a little grounding spot though. And then let's put a few of these up here. I think I do want 3 of these, but these 2 are the same, so I might make one a little shorter so it looks a little different. All right, and then I pre-stamped this because I wanted to test it. And this is where I think I might bring in the acorn ink. Now I did stamp this already because I wanted it to dry back to the color it would be, because remember it stamps darker. And so I'm thinking that it's going to be tucked back behind here, if I can get it back there. And kind of like this. Might tuck these down a little more. And then have this kind of tucked under here and under here a little bit. So it's kind of sticking out right there. I like that. And then over here, I was thinking that maybe, I don't want this big wide split right there. Thinking that this might go mostly under the trees, but kind of tuck under this one a little bit. So by testing your stamps on a scrap paper like this, it helps you figure out if you're gonna like the color. I do like this lighter acorn color if you like the placement, so then you can decide where you're gonna actually stamp it, because once you stamp it, that's it, unless you want to peel everything off again and redo your background. So I like to test it there. So I do like that. Now the question is over here, because I'm not sure it's going to show up as well as I want it to on, like if I actually stamp right on here. So I'm thinking what I might do, because I do like that as a grounding spot, I might actually just cut this out right on the line. I'm thinking I want this part showing so we don't have these big cracks showing. So I'm going to kind of tuck those under, and actually the trees are going to hide part of that, but I do like that. All right, so now we are going to do the scary part and actually stamp on our layout. So let me scoot this over. And I'm actually going to grab this again just so I know exactly where I want it. And then I can move just this when it's time to stamp. So I think I like it right there. So I'm going to move everything else out of the way. Now with the red rubber stamps, you don't need a cushy surface underneath your paper like you do with the cling or with the photopolymer clear stamps. So I don't need to flip my Versamat over or put any foam underneath it or anything like that. All right, so I'm going to put this right over where I want it, move that, and go straight down. And I'm going to let it soak into my paper just for a moment so that ink has plenty of time. See how much darker it goes down? This is the exact same ink, so it'll dry back to be that lighter color. All right, so I'm going to do the same exact thing over here. All right, so one of the things you have to watch out for with the cling stamps, and I'm not used to these, is that the rubber sticks out a little bit further and is up higher than the clear stamp. So I had a little ink on here and I didn't know, so I didn't wipe it off. So be careful if you notice any, wipe it off. So I have my mono sand eraser, and well, first of all, let me see. This actually, well, you're gonna see a tiny bit of it here. So this has a little bit of sand in it, and it basically sands off the very top of your paper. This works with white paper, not really colored paper. Unless you have a solid core, it might work a little bit, but I think it kind of fades the paper. And so it's just taking off that very top bit. So I'm gonna try to get this clear of that, and then the rest of this will be covered by the trees, so I don't have to worry about that. All right, I wanted to get my head right over it. So this is where I sanded, and I don't think, I mean, if you look really, really closely, you can kind of see that the paper is sanded down, but that's better than having ink on it, and I don't think that anyone is really gonna notice. So let me go ahead and get my photo in place, and then the trees, yeah, they're gonna tuck in there and you're not even gonna see the rest of it. So all my embellishments are down. I love that the way these look, it kind of adding grounding spots like you would add a circular die cut shape or tag or something like that. And we've got all of our little clusters and a visual triangle. Now, since and then I added a couple more little trees here because it looked a little bit blank over on this side, because I'm going to add my title actually over here going sideways since I filled the spot I originally intended. And so I pulled out this alphabet set that I had. I ran out of L's, so I cut down the ones to be L's. I wanted it to say all smiles because I was going through my little binder where I keep all of my like title embellishments, and there was one that said all smiles and I really liked it, but it didn't fit in this space and it was also the wrong color. So I thought, well, I can spell that. And I could have used a die set. I actually had a couple of extra little pieces from this alphabet a la mode set, and that could have worked, but it was just a little bit too tall for what I wanted. Of course, I would have cut it in a different color, but these are just what I had out to test, and I didn't like it. So I really wanted something kind of, darker, and this fit the bill. So I'm going to go ahead and add this title. Now the title's in place, I think we're pretty much done. I'm just going to finish it off with some of these little sequins. These are self-adhesive sequins and there's no hole. That's what I love about them. Look at all the ink on my fingers. Can you tell I had fun? So I'm just going to put a few around the page. And I wanted to talk about this photo. I mentioned it earlier and I almost forgot to finish telling you about it. So we didn't have anyone to take our photo. And so Katie actually took 2 photos. She's got a fancy Android phone. And so she took a photo with a gap here and all of us, and then someone else came and took a photo of just her there. And so what she did with her phone is she cut herself out of the one with just her and pasted her there. And you would never know, right? I mean, maybe you might be able to tell because I pointed it out. And funny story, funny part of that actually is that this is her foot right here. Look at how tiny it is and disproportionate the way it came in. I wouldn't have noticed that except for she pointed it out when she sent this to us. And then there's only one foot, so I guess the other one is on top of Janice. That's what she said. I'm standing on Janice and I've got a tiny foot on the ground. So that is the funny story about that photo. All right, so I think I actually can just pull these off with my finger. And I'm going to place a few more around the page. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to give it a thumbs up so that YouTube knows. And if you haven't yet subscribed, then be sure to do so. And if you missed any of the other creative design team members' videos, I've got the playlist up on the screen right now, so be sure to click that playlist on the right, and if you want to see another one of my videos, then click the video on the left. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.